And our first speaker is someone you all know. He's the CEO of CRNS, Michael Cook, who's been with CRNS for over 2 years now and brings a wealth of experience from previous roles, including finance, IT consultancy, change management, but in the last decade, leadership roles within the charitable sector. Today, he's going to further develop our conference themes of a fairer Scotland and a greener world, while launching our Impact Report, which is key to the whole sector, really, as we recover from these Covid-19 times. So it's over to you, Michael.
Great. Good to see you all. And, well, I can't see you all. There you are. I think I'm at a physical conference. It's great to be with you all. And I didn't really think this through when I agreed the programme with Elaine that I would follow Doug Allen, because what a high bar he set. I trust you've all been really inspired and challenged by what he's had to say. It's kind of stating the obvious that this has been a really tricky, challenging, difficult year for so many people, both in our personal lives in terms of adjusting to lockdown, but also in our professional lives in leading the organisations that we lead. And whilst that's our starting point of the reality that we faced, like some of those realities Doug shared with us, like climate breakdown and this problem of plastics, there's a lot of challenges out there. And for our sector, obviously, I'm talking about things like the financial resilience of our sector, and some of you having taken decisions to furlough staff or even make staff redundant. So many challenges that 2020 is a year I'm sure we'd like to forget and move on from as soon as possible. But I want to look beyond that, and I want to think about the positive and the opportunity of that without in any way diminishing the challenges that we face. And I'm going to hold up this impact report, which will be a PDF available from the chat and from our booth, as Heather mentioned, and just draw some of the themes from that. So our theme for the conference today, if we can bring the slides up, is a fairer Scotland and a greener world. And thank you to Doug for pulling up the donut there, which shows the social floor that we don't want to go below in terms of providing gender equality and solving the problem of food poverty and education and these issues, but also live within the climate means of the planet and not go above that and see the problems like plastic in the oceans and climate CO2 excesses, etc. This is a graphic taken from the Impact Report, a lot of data there, but just showing the valuable work that you are doing as CRNS members. This is the survey that Matt led on in September. Thank you for those of you that filled that in. The benefits that your work is having on the planet, on people, on pounds, and on places in terms of the social, environmental, and economic benefits of the work of the community resources sector. What I'm going to actually focus on is not the absolute numbers, but just the direction of movement. Most of the arrows you'll see there are up. There is increases in the carbon savings. There's increases in the reuse tonnage. We're employing more people. We're turning over more income. The one down arrow is a drop. A continuing theme of many years is a drop in the recycling tonnage as local authorities bring recycling services back in-house or put them out to contract with commercial organisations. But a lot of those numbers are up. I should give a health warning to that this is largely pre-COVID. We asked people about their last financial year, and a lot of people that was ending in March or even in last December. So this doesn't necessarily take into account the impact of lockdown yet. We would expect to see that in next year's report. And in terms of our role in supporting you, I don't want to focus on this too much, but it's a real privilege through this challenging time to have found new ways sometimes in terms of virtual events to support the sector. And that's why we are here. None of you exist to support CRNS. You exist to deliver those environmental and social benefits. But we do exist to support you. We're a relatively small team, just 5 of us, but we are here to try and support the sector to be the best version of itself that it can be. And this is a graph that I'm encouraged by, which is the growth in membership that's happened over the last 18 months or so, from 115 at the start of 2019 to 143 at the end of last month, 145 today, as it happens. I'm encouraged by that for 2 reasons. One, I guess it is some indication that we're doing a good job in supporting the sector, that more people are joining than leaving. But I think the real reason is that for this growth is that the DNA of this sector, care for people and care for planet, really resonates. It is really a deep theme of our times. And I think, therefore, there's a real opportunity for new organizations to be formed that do this work, and for existing organizations to start a reuse project or an environmental education project, which is why I think we're seeing our membership grow. It would be totally crazy of me to not just look at COVID-19 and have a sort of sobering element to this presentation. It's not all fantastic news. There is real challenge in there. We asked this question: how confident are you that your organization will recover in the next 12 months? And a really mixed picture there. There are some that are really confident. That's great. They may even have seen an increase in income and activity, for example, running food banks or pivoting to some new project to support isolated people during COVID. But the sobering side of this is that 23% there have said they're not so confident or not confident at all. And just a reminder, they're not confident at all that their organization will recover in the next year. And that is a real problem. And the main issues that people are talking to, this sort of podium here of first place is funding and finances. And I don't think that'll be a surprise to any of us. And then second position, sharing between the staffing and human resources side of their work, and customer confidence, getting customers back in the shops when lockdowns are eased. And I think health and safety, it says something that's only in fourth place because that's been dominating much of our year, hasn't it? But I think many organizations have gotten their head around that. So it's less of a challenge than the others, which aren't yet controlled and managed. So at CRNS, we are continuing to call for financial support and investment in our sector. We believe that green jobs, that green recovery should be at the heart of our roadmap as a nation out of COVID-19, balancing the economic and social and environmental needs that we face. I just want to play a short video now that really if a picture paints 1,000 words, maybe a picture paints 10,000. So I just want to share a few images and quotes of different people I've spoken to, socially distanced on Zoom, I have to say, over the last few months about the work they've been doing during COVID-19.
We basically had to close down every income stream that we had at the end of March.
The recycling centres closed. We couldn't accept donations. We're never in lockdown, so they weren't able to come out anyway.
And we also couldn't do all our planned activities that we would have normally done, like doctor bike sessions, going out and fixing people's bikes in the community.
And all but 2 of our volunteers were shielding. So yes, it had a massive impact on us, literally brought us to a grinding halt.
We were inundated with orders for items and we couldn't meet them all because items are going out, but because of lockdown, items weren't coming in.
The cafe had to change dramatically. So we went from a sit-down service to actually closing that. We then started to do about 200 meals a day.
Started talking to grocery stores. They started to provide everything that they were otherwise going to throw out.
Lots of our staff, they became volunteers for the local co-op, and the co-op used our van to deliver food as well.
We came together and we formed a partnership because they thought, well, we've got the delivery team, you're providing the food.
So we contacted the other members across Scotland and literally everybody pulled together. We had trucks and vans going all over the place and we were able to fulfill the orders.
And because we've been refurbishing, repairing and gifting IT equipment to vulnerable groups, we stepped this up even more to specifically target people that were socially isolated and suffering from digital poverty.
But somebody who bought a face mask who we knew maybe needed more than one, but couldn't afford it, we always kind of slipped an extra one in.
And we reckon we sold just over 300.
One of the first projects that kicked off was for the Love of Scrubs, and they made over 250 sets of scrubs, so quite incredible.
So we had the idea to put on a bike library, which were a free service that allowed key workers to come along and get access to a fully serviced bicycle, recycled bicycle.
We've given out over 200 bikes now. We had one guy who said that the bike essentially saved his life. And I think none of us were expecting that it would have that much impact. And he said that his bus was cancelled. He needed to be able to get to work to support his family. And it was too far to walk, so he couldn't have done that without the bike.
At the moment, we're looking about 16, 17 tonnes worth of bikes that have come through the project that would have gone to landfill or scrap since the outbreak began.
And we saved 27 tons of food from going to landfill.
Helping meet the need of others with reusable items that won't go into landfill, better for the environment.
We had curtains, we had duvets, so we used a lot of them to make face masks. So we reuse those as well.
The headband is made of recycled PET.
E-waste is incredibly hazardous to the environment. It contains a lot of precious metals which can be extracted and reused. Diverting it from landfill, that's kind of the general overall mission of everything that we do.
So that's just some of the ways that a small fraction of our membership have been working during COVID-19 to create a fairer Scotland, a greener world. And I don't know about you, but I find that inspiring, and it's why we do what we do at CRNS. A fairer Scotland, just some of those images there, and a greener world. I think that stat's interesting. I think one of the challenges with climate emergency is just getting our head around the numbers. So I think it's good to quantify that 84,000 tonnes of carbon saving. It's like taking 40,000 cars off the road for the whole year. That's the combined environmental impact of this sector in the last year. So that's all I had to say. Sorry, there's no pictures of any leopard seals in that. It's hard to follow, Doug, but I think nonetheless, inspiration work of our sector. Get your copy of this report, holding it up here. It's available as a PDF, and it's available for our stand. It will obviously be in future emails. Have a look at it. Look at the case studies, familiarize yourself. All the video case studies we've shot are also linked from the PDF version, so you can get to them through that. And I look forward to taking your questions later after you've heard from Martin. Back to Heather.
Thank you very much indeed there, Michael. And that was so informative, actually, and very timely to remind, I think, all of us of the amazing efforts that have gone on despite the pandemic by members and the impact it has. So as